Any content creator has a secret weapon that will connect your audience to you and your content with emotional superglue. It works different ways for different creators, but everyone has it, including you. It's called The Thing Under the Thing, and it is incredibly powerful when you use it well. Here's how to find it for yourself. Welcome to the Story Greenlight podcast, where we're all about empowering creators like you to tell your stories, connect with your audience, and create the impact that you were put on this planet to make. My name is Jeff Bartsch. I'm a coach, author, and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience shaping content for ABC, NBC, Universal, Disney, Apple, and a whole bunch of others. My team and I support creators with followings in the hundreds to the many millions. At Story Greenlight, we believe that you matter, your message matters, and the world needs to hear what you have to say. One of the most powerful ideas that I teach here at Story Greenlight is something called The Thing Under the Thing. And it is, as I mentioned in the introduction, it is the closest thing that I found to emotional superglue between you and your audience. Now, here's the thing. When I talk about it, people usually react along the lines of, whoa, this is powerful, this is important. How the heck does it work, and how can I find it for myself? Now, imagine, if you will, the classic picture of an iceberg where, you have the level of the water, it's iceberg in the ocean, and you have the tip sticking out, and it's the proverbial tip of the iceberg. The bulk of everything else is underwater. That's where the main mass of the iceberg lives. And as content creators and storytellers, the things that we talk about, the things that are obvious, the things that people can see and understand on the surface of whatever our content is, that is the tip of the iceberg. That is the obvious stuff. And to connect with our audience on a deep level, we got to go under the surface, and we operate from underneath there. We attach our content to deeper, underwater, if you will, deeper things that your audience already cares about. And it's not stuff that they just like, but stuff that they really, really care about. The reason for this is when you attach your content, when you talk to things that people care about, they will care about you. In psychology, it's a concept called transference. It's taking feelings for one person or for one thing and applying those feelings to someone or something else. Now, a lot of the time in psychology, you'll see examples of this applied in a negative way, such as if a child has had emotional trauma inflicted upon them by a parent or someone or some authority figure growing up, and that child becomes an adult and lashes out to people in authority over him or her, then psychologists would often say, well, that's an example of transference, taking that childhood trauma and acting out on it as an adult. Well, those are examples of transference, but we can actively use transference in a positive, constructive way. And that's what I'm talking about here. As creators, we want this. We want people to connect their positive feelings to us and to our content. And there are two main ways to do that I want to talk about today. The first way is we can just uncover ideas that are already present in whatever our content happens to be. Or we can, number two, we can attach neutral surface things to a deeper idea or motivation. We can actually make those connections from scratch. I'll say that again. Two ways that we can make use of emotional transference, the thing under the thing, with our content. We can uncover and point to what's already there, or we can attach neutral things to ideas however we feel so inclined. So, the kicker to this is, though, it all depends on who is your audience and what they care about. Because all audiences are different and they all care about different things. So you can attach your content to some deep-rooted thing, but if it doesn't land with your audience, then it's not going to work. It's just not going to make that emotional resonance, and you will not get the positive benefits of that transference that we're all looking for. So question is, who is your audience and what do they care about? And when you think about this, any of us who are telling stories, who are creating content, or we have a message to spread, anything like that, we have to think about who our people are and what they want. And it can't just be the surface things of what they want. It has to be something significant. Well, you know what? Let's just go to the classic analogy of the Seth Godin 1/4-inch drill bit that we've talked about in previous episodes. Well, if people come up to you and say, I want a drill bit. Well, the thing that your audience wants is not actually the drill bit. It is what the drill bit can get for them. And it depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. The one level down is they want a drill bit so they can get a hole in the wall. Well, why do they want the hole in the wall? So they can hang a picture. Well, do they want, is what they really want the picture? No, they want the feeling of, well, they want to be able to see the picture, and they want to have the feelings that they get from seeing that picture on the wall that they hung up by using the drill bit. But as you can tell, they want the feeling of satisfaction. You have to go below the surface for this stuff. And usually you will get there by asking why, or what does this accomplish for you? What do you get out of this? Your audience might be someone who is all in touch with the emotions. They might ultimately want joy, love, or happiness. And they're thinking about these things, and they're getting all the feels, and they say, oh, I feel all these things so much. Oh, all the feels, And there are other audiences, they are not emotional whatsoever. They might be thinkers, they might be very dispassionate, and that's a question that comes up pretty regularly. What if my crowd isn't emotional? What if they don't care about all these warm, squishy, feely things? Well, number one, your crowd is human. Assuming you're talking to human beings, every human being cares about something. Guaranteed, they care about something. And the most unemotional, the most stoic person on the face of the planet, guaranteed, they care about their own security. Chances are they care about the security of the people that they care about. They care about sacrificing. They care about giving up things for others. They care about helping others. They care about freedom. And you can go all sorts of directions with freedom. There's the idea they want freedom from control. They want from being controlled over being under someone else's thumb. Just the whole "don't tread on me" idea. Don't control my life. Let me choose what I want. I want the freedom from pain. I don't want to be in pain. I want the freedom to choose what I want to do. All that kind of thing. You talk about those kind of things in the right way to the most, and even the most unemotional person. I mean, they may not go running up and down the street going, I'm feeling all the feelings, but man, you might even get some kind of, yep, pretty much. Damn allergies. Got to go get a Kleenex. That something like that. So I promise everyone cares about something. We have to find out what it is. Then we have to attach our stuff to that. So back to finding what the thing under the thing is. So the first way that we do this, that we're going to talk about today, is uncovering and pointing to what's already there. You can do this usually, as I mentioned earlier, by asking a few rounds of why. What do people get out of this? Why does it matter? And why do they love this? Why do they care about this? So if, for instance, you have if you have content that talks about living outdoors or vacationing outdoors or things like that, your surface content you might make a content about here's how to pitch a tent or here's how to keep the bears away. Well, that's not what that stuff is about. The stuff underneath that this is about connecting with nature. Here's how to provide shelter for yourself. Here's how to feel self-sufficient in nature. Here's how to have freedom of time. Here's how to get away from the daily routine. Here's how to expand your daily existence out of your day-to-day grind or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about that's already there, the things that people are already thinking about and caring about when they're talking about content for being outdoors. You could be, for instance, a realtor, and you could be putting content up online, and you get a new listing and you say, okay, well, here's the new listing. Isn't it amazing? Amazing curb appeal. It's got this, it's got this, it's got this, it's got this. And you can, so it's not just about here's a house that's for sale, or here's some information about this city that you might be moving to. It's about what do they get out of this? What are the things that people care about that will benefit them? So it's, in the classic sales sense, you talk about not just the features, but you attach features to benefits. What do you want, not in a house, but what do you want in a home? How does your living space reflect your identity, who you are? There's this very, very tight connection between the space that we surround ourselves with, the place where we live, and how that reflects or does not reflect on how we see ourselves in our identity. So do we want a family home? Do we care about family living? Do we want to make sure that the house has a pool or a basketball hoop for playing sports and being healthy, maintaining a long life through being healthy and active? Do you want a hip designer loft to display your art collection and show inspiring views of the city? Do you want, what would create memories with your friends or loved ones? I mean, this kind of thing, this is what people actually care about. They don't care that the house has 5 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. They care about what they can get out of those things. So what does your audience already really care about, and what in your content can speak to that? That's something that we can lean into when we're looking for our own things under the things in our own content. The second way that we can find the thing under the thing for our content is to attach neutral surface things to a deeper idea or motivation. We actively create that connection. So instead of uncovering things that are already there, it's almost as if we're starting backwards. We're starting with the meaningful ideas, and then we work backwards, and then we attach them to the surface. So as an example for this, going to be talking about attaching different ideas to that guy right there. Now, if you're listening to the audio only version of this, I am pointing back to the lamp hanging back there above my shoulder. It's a pendant lamp. It is a metal, shallow, cylindrical cone held up by a single black cord that's attached to the ceiling. It's got funky old school Edison style light bulb in there. This is not any kind of an heirloom. This is an inexpensive mass-produced piece of metal and plastic from IKEA, made somewhere in Eastern Europe, probably. That's what it is on the surface. It's a lamp hanging from the ceiling. It's got a light bulb in it. So what do we attach to this? Well, if we want to talk about things that I personally associate this, if we think about me just looking at that lamp and thinking about that lamp, well, there's some things, I wrote down some things that I could talk about. Some of the things I could talk about would be the fact that I got that lamp when I was in my early 20s. I was single, bachelor, had not yet met my wife, no kids, very few responsibilities, and very little space. And I didn't know how to buy things. Well, I didn't have space to buy stuff. I was living in a 300 square foot studio apartment just west of downtown Los Angeles at the time. And it was an exciting time in my life. I was doing enough gigs. I had enough jobs. I was doing just fine, even as an assistant editor. And I was learning and experiencing all these new things and experiencing some really random things in the city that I'd never experienced before, like the time when I woke up to the sound of a helicopter hovering over the building, which, you know, downtown LA, I mean, you get helicopters flying overhead all the time. I mean, LAPD does that pretty regularly. They're patrolling the city, but this helicopter was not going anywhere. And this helicopter just sat there hovering, and I'm going, what is going on? And, you know, I was getting up and getting ready to go into the office for the show that I was working at the time. You know, I got dressed, got ready to walk out the door, and got into my car, drove out the driveway, and turned the corner down the street, and I'd swear I'd walked onto the set of a Jerry Bruckheimer End of the World movie set. We're not just talking about LAPD cars stacked up. We're talking about a dozen LAPD squad cars plus armored SWAT vehicles. I mean, the kind with the tanks, with everything but the treads on them. I mean, there was artillery sticking out the front, out of the turret of these things. There were fire trucks, there were ambulances, and of course, the multiple helicopters overhead, both from LAPD and from the local news channels, because as it turns out, I lived just a few blocks away from the Mexican consulate, and there was a hostage standoff. And when that happens, you never know if there's going to be, you never know how many people are armed, whether there are threats of bombs. And it was one of those mornings I was just perfectly happy to get down to Wilshire Boulevard and drive west away from downtown. And I'm just looking in my rearview mirror. I'm thinking, okay, am I going to see anything blow up? Please don't blow up anything. Don't blow up my apartment building. Please don't. So that's the kind of stuff that I think about when I think about that lamp. Crazy times, like when there was a hostage situation at the Mexican consulate just west of downtown Los Angeles. There's another time I wired a dimmer switch to one of the lamps in one of the lamps in my studio, and you know, my little apartment there, and I was so proud of myself. I had never done anything like that. I learned a little bit about electricity and wiring in 9th grade shop class in high school, but I'd never been a real hands-on geeky kind of, not true. I've always been a geek in one form or another. What am I saying? I'd never been a real electrician kind of a thing, and electricity was always a little spooky because, you know, it can shock you and you can get hurt and all that stuff. But I'd wired this thing together and the dimmer switch worked. And that lamp was no longer just blazing bright as day. It was, you know, I could adjust it. And I was very proud of myself. I was exercising personal control. So it wasn't about, you know, it wasn't about the excitement of city life. It was about exercising personal control. That's what I think about when I think about that lamp. And if you also just look at the light bulb, I mean, it's that classic Edison style incandescent light bulb. You know, a lot of people think about light bulbs. They think ding, they think ideas, connecting new ideas together in new ways. And that's something that's always been near and dear to my heart. That's all about creativity. If you think about just me, I can look at that lamp and say, that represents, I can attach that to excitement of city life, memories of earlier life, exercising personal control, and exercising creativity. But if my audience changes, the things that they care about change too. So if I'm talking to online entrepreneurs and I want to talk about that lamp, chances are I could talk about Ingvar Kamprad, who was the founder of the company who manufactured that lamp. He built low-price furniture with modern Scandinavian design, and he turned that into a multi-billion-dollar empire of stores all around the world called IKEA. In that context, with that audience, that lamp can represent creativity. It can also represent problem solving. When you talk about this in the context of online entrepreneurs being your audience. Now, if I want to talk about that lamp and my audience as senior citizens worrying about protecting their retirement funds, I could talk about how that lamp has some dings and some dents in it. And the fact is, even though it's got some dings and dents, it's still solid. And when your retirement funds are protected in the right way, you might still get some dings and some dents, but at the end of the day, you're still going to be okay. That lamp, to that audience, can represent security and safety. If I'm talking to my kids, I have 2 kids, 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter, they would both be very, very upset if I didn't actually say that my son is 6 and 2/3 years old. It's not enough for him to say that it's 6.5 because he's more than 6.5. And anyway, this is a very big deal. So my son and my daughter, one of the things we talk about is you can do hard things. And that's one of the things I am straight up brainwashing my children to believe that they can do hard things, and so can you. And that is something that I want them to internalize. I want them to know that inside the very bottom of their soul, because life is going to be hard. Life is going to throw obstacles at them, and I want them to know that you can do hard things. And one of the things that I would talk about is the man who designed that first version of that light bulb right there. It was invented by a man named Thomas Edison, and he could not, for the life of him, figure out how to create something that gave off light in a sustainable way. He tried experiment after experiment after experiment, and nothing worked. Everyone said, dude, some version of, dude, what is up? Just move on to something else. You're a really smart guy. You've invented all these other amazing things. Just move on to one of those. And Edison said, no, I'm going to figure this out. As the story goes, he did over 1,000 experiments in the process of inventing the incandescent light bulb. And he says, I've not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that didn't work. So you can talk about thinking about things a different way, looking at things in a different light, so to speak. And he didn't see what he was doing as failure. He saw it as discovery until he finally did find the way that worked. He overcame obstacles. He represents the idea of persistence and overcoming obstacles. And that is something, if I was talking about this to my kids, I want them to know that light bulb represents persistence, overcoming obstacles, and the fact that you can do hard things. Let's take a big picture look here. So we've talked about that lamp hanging from the ceiling behind me, and we've attached it to the ideas of memories of early adult life, excitement of city life, exercising personal control, creativity, problem solving, security, safety, persistence, and overcoming obstacles. All from that lamp hanging from the ceiling behind me. The Thing Under the Thing exists for all of us. I promise you, it exists for you. It exists in your content. And when you attach those ideas that your audience cares about, they will care about you and your content because they already care about those deeper level things. So you can work by revealing those deeper level ideas that are already attached to your content, or you can actively attach those ideas to neutral things, like a lamp hanging from the ceiling, based on your audience and what works for them and for you. This is only scratching the surface of the beginning of this, because once you have the ideas and you have what you want to attach them to, then you have to go about saying, okay, how do I actually apply this? How do I actually put it into my content? And if that's the kind of stuff that you like to dig in more, that's the kind of stuff we talk about all the time in our monthly membership called The Green Room. It's where creators in the Story Greenlight community get together and we talk about the thing under the thing. We talk about these ideas and how to connect with our audience and how to spread our message and how to tell stories that make a difference in the world and spread your message around the world. So if you want to check out the monthly membership where we help content creators unleash the next level of impact and connection in both your content and in yourself, then there is a link in the show notes or the video description where you can get a full month for free. Check it out, see if it's the right fit for you. And again, check out that link for a full month of the Green Room for free in the show notes or the video description, and I will see you there.